I got my IGCSEs with a completed in grade 10, and I also got my A levels finished with a digital dash 10. I graduated recently only 3 months ago, so I graduated in June 2023 from British school. And I have A levels in biology, chemistry, maths, and English. And this is what I used to apply to UCL, among some other extracurriculars and my personal statements, essays, etc. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So the first one? Next one?
Yes. So I applied to UCL back in October 2022, and I got my decision back in March 2023. So I got to UCL, but with a conditional offer. One thing you need to keep in mind whenever you're applying to university in the UK is that when you get your offer, it's going to be a conditional offer. It's going to be based on certain criteria such as English language requirements or getting certain grades in the subjects that you're doing as high school. So for me, my grade requirements to get into UCL was based on the British curriculum. So I had to get an A star and A star, A, in two different subjects. But I did for course, so it was kind of it was an advantage. So UCL, for the last 12 years, UCL has been a top 10 university. This year in 2024, according to the QS rankings, it's ninth place. And last year, 2023, it was, I think it was 8 after the level. For my course, so basically, I'm interested in neuroscience, but I'm doing a course called natural yeah, I'm doing a course called Natural Science, which is basically a very broad and flexible course, and it allows me to explore 6 different subject areas. I've always been a STEM student, so I really like science and technology, and I felt as if I go for natural science, it's going to give me a broader and more flexible perspective and overview. So the 6 streams that we have in natural science are physics and astrophysics, life science, chemistry, earth sciences, and philosophy of science. Now, me personally, because I'm interested in neuroscience, I'm going to be going for chemistry and life sciences. And from year 2 onwards, I can start specializing in neuroscience. Now, UCL is the best university in Europe for science, and in the entire world, it's classified as second place for neuroscience after Harvard. So Harvard has a best program, and then it's this year. And yeah.
Oh, final.
Okay, and UCL's ranking criteria is based on a lot of things. So overall, it ranks 92.4%, and its academic reputation is also really good. There's a lot of international students. I believe 40 or 50% of the people at UCL are international students. I'll be going to London in a week. I've been talking to a few people, and all of them are from different parts of the world. So I've been talking to a lot of Indonesia, sometimes from Singapore. So the international student population in UCL is very diverse. And yeah, so okay, so a little bit about UCL. It is best known for the clubs and societies that it offers. There's over 100 clubs and societies at UCL. There's something for everyone. So there's a bubble society as well, if you like bubble tea. There's the art society, there's K-pop society, food, consulting, Harry Potter, pole dancing. There's a Kazakh society. I tried to look if there was a Uzbek society, but there's not. If any of you end up going to UCL, you can start one. There's an Indian society, and there's a space and sign language society as well. So these are only a few examples. There's over 100 clubs and societies at UCL. You can join any you want, and that is where you make majority of your friends. There's always different events that you can be a part of. UCL is also known as the Party University of London. So if you're going to be going there, be prepared to go out every weekend or even on the weekdays. But just keep in mind that you can have to study as well. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind. Okay, so I'm going to get into the application process. It's not it's not that difficult, but if there's any specific questions that you have, you can ask me that at the end of my presentation, and I'll try my best to answer that. So, when you're applying to any university in the UK, you apply through a platform called UCAS. So, yeah, UCAS, and you have to make an account on UCAS. It's very similar to Common App for the US. And after you make an account on UCAS, you can go to specific universities and check what grade requirements they have. Now, I know that most of you here do different curriculums. The grade requirements are usually based on the British system, but if you go on more information, I think there's always like an option. You can select your country and you can look at what the requirements are for the course that you're doing. So, for example, for you guys, it's going to be the local physical curriculum. I don't know much about it, but I think it's based on a grading system from 1 to 5. And yeah, the requirements are going to be based on that. Yeah, and just remember that whenever you apply to the UK, you only have the option to apply to only 5 universities. You can't apply to any more than that. Out of those 5 universities, one has to be a dream university. So it has to be a university that you think you really can't get into, but it's your dream. For me, that was Cambridge University. I applied, but I didn't get in. And then you have to have 2 matched universities. So those are universities you believe you can get into, and you have the requirements to get into those universities. And then you have to have 2 safety universities. So after you've selected that, you need to start writing your personal statement, which is an essay. It's supposed to be around 4,000 characters, which is about a page on a Google Doc, or like 700 words. I'm going to go into a bit of detail on what you should include in your personal statement in the next slide. And then, so you apply by January 26th. I think the dates change every year. But after you apply, you wait for a month or 2 and you start getting your decisions back. But just remember that your decisions are going to be conditional. So it's going to be based on you meeting your grade requirements. And if you don't meet your grade requirements, your offer will be rescinded. So you won't be able to go to the university. Are there any questions about the application process?
So, one question. You mentioned that looking at like to 5 universities, is it only the selection of Great Britain, or we are, for example, applying 1 university in the US, so 2 universities in the UK, 1 university in Germany, still applying the same?
No, it's only for the UK. So you can also apply to universities in Scotland, but not outside of the UK. So you can't apply to university in Europe or the US or Canada, just within UK. So you can apply to Edinburgh, which is a really good university. I think it's in top 20, but it's in Scotland. So you can also apply to that, but not any university outside. So US, Canada, and Europe.
So this means that if you're applying within Great Britain, you don't apply to the universities outside of Great Britain.
Yeah, you can't apply to any university outside. You apply within through UCAS, through this platform.
UCAS.
Yeah, you only apply within UK. Okay, yeah. So remember, it's going to be conditional offers. So for me, I did my final exams in June, so May and June this year, but I got my offer back in March. So on my offer, my conditions were that I had to get above a 7 on IELTS, and I also had to get certain grades for the subjects that I was doing, certain percentages. And I did my exam in June. I did my IELTS back in April, and I got my requirement for IELTS. And then I took my exams in May and June, and I got my results in August. So if in August I found out that I did not meet my grade requirements, if I somehow failed a subject or got lower than what they needed, I wouldn't have been able to go to UCL. I would have gone to my safety university, which was the University of Leeds, but thankfully I met my requirements, and yeah, I'm going to be going to UCL in a week. But yeah, with the US, I think once you apply, your offer is unconditional. So I think it doesn't matter what grades you end up getting in your final exam, you can still go to university. But for UK, it's different. So you have to keep maintaining your academic progress. Okay, so personal statement, as I said, it has to be 4,000 characters and around 700 words. Uh, Unlike applying to the US, your personal statements can't be very story-like or very narrative. They have to be very academic and professional. So when you're writing your personal statement, keep in mind that you talk about supercurriculars, not extracurriculars. So supercurriculars are activities that you do that strictly and directly relate to what you're going to be studying. So, for example, if I'm applying for, let's say, international relations, all of my activities that I mentioned in my personal statement have to be something like student leadership, doing MUNs, etc. You can't, I mean, you can mention being like leader of the football team, but it won't really make a difference to your application. Like, it doesn't have a lot of value. So yeah, make sure you add in your supercurriculars, not really extracurriculars. Yeah, as I said, it cannot have a story-like structure. It has to be very professional and academic, and it has to have perfect grammar and structure. So I think I personally had 8 or 9 different drafts for my personal statement. So I kept writing them, I kept showing them to my counselor and my teacher. They kept pointing out everything that was wrong with it, and then I had to delete the whole thing and write it again. So yes, just be prepared to like write it again and again until it's perfect. It's not as hard, but you just have to make sure you write all of the right things in your personal statement. So don't focus too much on extracurriculars. Don't go talking about anything else that's not related to what you're applying for. Just make sure it's strictly academic and directly related to whatever course you're applying for. Any questions?
Just one small question.
Yeah.
Do you really have to use all your, what you want to say in 700 words, which is not too much?
So it is not too much, and obviously I found it hard to fit everything in my personal statement. But the thing is that I still managed to write everything I wanted in my personal statement. It just wasn't there wasn't a lot of detail about everything. So it was just straight just points about what I've done and the skills I've gained from that. It wasn't a lot of explanation about every single thing I did while I did any kind of activity. And I think for me, a lot of my teachers helped me a lot with making my personal statement perfect. So yeah, when you write your personal statement, make sure you get it checked by your friends, by someone, by your teacher, by your counselor, etc. to make sure that it's perfect. Okay, so for my personal statement, I applied for natural sciences. Initially, I was actually applying for computer science, but since I applied to Cambridge University, they don't have a neuroscience course, they have a natural science course. And I had to tailor all of my universities, I had to change all of my courses on all of my universities so that it matches to my dream university, which was Cambridge. And that's why I ended up applying for natural sciences in all of my other universities. The thing is that you can apply for different courses at different universities, but it has to be within the same subject area. So I also applied to Imperial College London, but they also don't have a natural science course. So I applied for a biotechnology with business course at Imperial, and I also applied for biotechnology at University of Leeds. So it can be biotechnology, natural science, neuroscience. They're all within the same field. They're all biology related. So I could manage to apply to all of those. But you can't, for example, apply for economics at one university and then biology at the other. So that won't work out. So for my personal statement, last year I did a research program, a 3-month research program on neuroscience. I did research on the gut-brain axis, and I wrote a paper. So I included that in my personal statement. Then I was also a research trainee at Seattle Children's Hospital. It was an online program, and it was free of cost. So try and if you want to do medical or anything STEM related, just search it up. There's a lot of online opportunities because I know that it might be hard to find any opportunities here in Uzbekistan. So you can do online activities and research programs. There's a hospital here, I don't know if you've heard of it, National Children's Hospital. I was a volunteer there, It was pretty hard because I spoke English and none of the nurses spoke English. But I went with some of my friends who spoke Russian and Uzbek, so I kind of managed. I also did something called the World Scholars Cup. Now, this is an amazing opportunity, and I can talk more about this because all of you can do this. But yeah, it's basically a writing, debating, quiz, academic tournament kind of thing. And they do it every year in Tashkent. If you get selected here, you get to go to one of the global rounds, which is in 6 different places around the world. And if you get selected there, you would get to go to Yale University, which in the US, which is the final round. So yeah, you can do that. Now this wasn't directly related to my course, but as I said, they have quizzes, and on one of their science quiz, I got the first place, so I mentioned that. Then I did a lot of MUN and school leadership. I started off as a delegate doing MUN, then I was also a chair. I was an organizer, I was a conference manager, and also the marketing manager. So that helped me get a lot of experience. Now, also MUN isn't directly related to neuroscience or natural science, but I just added like one sentence about MUN, and I think that helped the whoever was reading my essay show that I had leadership skills. And then one of the most important things that you need to remember for UK universities is that they appreciate if you've read any academic books related to your course. So, for example, I did neuroscience, so I read this book called Brainwash, which was about the brain, and then this book called Regenesis, which was about synthetic biology and biotechnology. So yeah, try reading some books over the summer that you can talk about in your personal statement. Okay, now when you're applying to the UK, there's obviously the two top universities, Oxford and Cambridge. Now, applying to Oxford and Cambridge is a bit different from applying to any other UK universities. As I said, it has to be 5 universities, but remember that when you're applying to Oxford or Cambridge, remember you can only apply to one of Oxford or Cambridge. You can't apply to both. So you pick one, whichever university has your course, and the deadline for any Oxford application is earlier, much earlier. It's October 15th. So if any of you are planning on applying to Cambridge or Oxford, just remember that the deadline is probably like in a month, so to say. So you need to start preparing now. Yeah, so it's October 15th, and the rest of the universities are around January 26th. But if you decide that you want to apply to, for example, Cambridge or Oxford, you have to make sure that all of your applications for all other universities that you're applying to are also much earlier. So initially, I wasn't planning on applying to Cambridge, but I did end up applying, and I had to write my personal statement really quickly over the summer and submit everything before October 15th. And that was actually nice because it gave me time to apply to other universities. I applied to a few in the US. I applied to University of Toronto in Canada, and I also applied to universities in Netherlands. So yeah, and yeah, just remember that for Oxbridge, so for Cambridge and Oxford, there's entrance examinations that you have to do, and the entrance examinations are really hard. And that's where I kind of messed up my application. I didn't really prepare for the exam. I just went and I did it, and obviously I didn't get it, so I'm done really bad in my exam. But yeah, so you have to start preparing for your entrance examinations. And is there anything else? Yeah, and if you're doing medicine, there's an entrance examination at every university that you apply to. I think it's called UCAT or MCAT. I think you need that exam everywhere whenever you apply for a medicine course. Excuse me.
Should be good. No? This is not the last one?
Yeah, I think that might be.
I think it's the last one. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm done with my presentation. Are there any questions? Are there any specific questions that you have about any UK universities or the application process?
Okay, other questions? I mean, oh boy. No, I have a question. So, as per my knowledge, each application, it might cost some amount of money, the application fee. Could you please elaborate more on this?
Yeah, so for me, because I applied through my school, I didn't really have to pay anything because my school paid for my application, but it isn't a lot. Like for US universities, for every university, I think I paid like $150 to apply. But for UCAS, all of the 5 universities that you apply to, there's no individual prices that you have to pay. You just pay a total amount, but I don't really know how much that is. It might actually be free because I don't really know because my school paid for it, my school council paid for it. So yeah, there actually might be no fees, or even if there is, it's a very small amount. So yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does it really matter, like, giving your application exact time of the deadline, or you like need to do it earlier?
It doesn't matter when you submit your application. So I think you're asking if you submit your application earlier, does that give you a bit more of an advantage? There's nothing like that because once you submit your application before the deadline, they look at everything equally. They look at every application at the same time. So there's no like advantage or disadvantage. Just make sure that there's actually like a time difference here in Uzbekistan and then in the UK, right? So what a lot of people do is they leave their applications to submit towards the end, and when they submit it, the time zone difference actually like it messes up their application, and they don't really submit it by the deadline. So just from like all of my classmates, they submitted their applications by like November or December, like way before the deadline. So try and do that if you can. Okay. Any more questions? Yes. Scholarship. Okay, so one like disadvantage about the UK is that there's not really a lot of scholarships. There can be some funding to help you, but it really depends on your financial situation, your family's financial situation. So some of the, I know that UCL has some scholarships, but they're based on like every country. And since I have an Indian passport, I looked at what scholarship they had for me. They have one scholarship, but to apply for that scholarship, I have to have lived in India, which I don't. I live here, so I can't really apply for it. And I know that there's also merit scholarships in some university. So I also got into University of York in the UK, and they have a merit scholarship every year. That so you apply for it. It's based on your grades. You write an essay, a very small essay, and they give you like a tuition fee discount or scholarship based on how good your application was. So the one that I was applying for was around £7,000, I think, and the tuition fee for York was around £25,000. So yeah, but there's not like a lot of scholarships, and even if there are, it's very competitive. Okay, any other questions?
Your personal statement, you pay more attention to the sales regime or the features of the your personal statement, you pay more attention to the sales regime in customers national role by some okay, I work for change is that it's really important to exactly say what can say better by being
Okay, so when you're writing your personal statement, whatever you state in your personal statement, you have to somehow show it. So the best way to do that is to just state what you've done and then explain what skills that doing that activity has helped you gain. So if you were a part of any kind of student leadership in your school, you can write about how that helped you gain leadership experience, teamwork, time management, etc. So they don't really care about what you've done, they care about what you've gained from what you've done. So all of the skills, any soft skills, any technical skills, if you've learned some kind of like, I know, so I helped with my school's theater program, and I didn't really act because I'm too shy to act, but I was in the backstage, so I helped with the art and staging, and I wrote about how that helped me like it helped me with group work, and it helped me with time management because it was during the exam season. And I think that showed some of my skills, such as like that I'm very consistent with my academic work, and that I can manage two things at the same time. I can manage doing my exams, and I can also manage extracurriculars at the same time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so that's the like, it's not really skills, but skills you are
But the skills.
Should we also have to run some kind of mission in order to get into colleges and universities? Yeah, what am I supposed
The personal statement is basically like motivation. So you only, I also applied to the US, right? And there's like one common app essay, and there's also supplemental essays that you write for the universities. But for the UK one, like I think it's the best thing if you're applying to the UK. It's like you write one essay, and it's for all 5 universities, and you don't have to do anything else, and you're done. Yeah.
What was your common essay?
My common app essay? Okay, I don't remember much of it, but my common app essay was, I think it was about me like moving to different countries and how every country helped me grow in a different way, and how, yeah, I don't remember much of it, but it was basically about me stepping out of my comfort zone and trying things that I've never tried before. Yeah.
Like university in the real world is that you have no problems. What should we do? What should the real world do? Like I mean, you're supposed to say, I this is what should we work on that. You know, there's a thing like acceptance rate, and you can increase it like if you're national Olympic medalist or you have not where the project, what should we work on?
If you want to increase the chances of getting in, the first most important thing you should focus on is meeting the greater priorities that they're giving. So for them, academics is the most important thing. So you have to, whenever you submit the application, you have to make sure that your academic progress has been consistent for a very long time. So for me, I told you that I did both of my high school and right? So I did my IGCSE and A levels, and I got above the 90% in all of my GCSE subjects and all of my A level subjects. So it shows that for the past 2 or 3 years, I have been consistent with my academic progress. So that's a very important thing. You have to show them that you're academically very strong, and to make your application even stronger, you have to include a lot of strong super curriculars. So, for example, if you're applying for chemistry and you've done some chemistry Olympiads and you've won some medals, you write about that, and it really makes your application strong. You write about maybe like starting a chemistry experiment club in your school because it shows that you're passionate about chemistry, and it also shows that you're leadership skills. Does that answer your question? Any other questions? I think we're done.
Thank you very much for preparing and for the slides. If you don't mind to share those slides as a reminder to check them out with the weekend page on the So yeah, thank you very much. If there are no questions, then we invite the questions.
Can we get my slide?
1 second.
Yeah, I can actually. Can we get the full screen? Full screen button?
I'm not really sure how to work on this, but
Okay.
we will fix it as soon as the done comes.
You're going to I think it works. Yep. It doesn't have to be full screen. No.
Full screen.
Oh,
تقدر
just
تسمع؟
the lighting is not. But never mind. It works.
Yeah, it's because we are streaming. It's not possible to make.
Got it. All right.
So we can start.
Hi to everyone, my name is Farangiz, and I'm originally from Uzbekistan. So a bit introduction about myself. You see, Stanford photo in the background, because this year I got into Stanford for a bachelor's degree, and I was born in Tashkent. I lived here until like fourth grade. I lived in Turkey for a few years, and then I came back to Uzbekistan too, and my application cycle began in last year, 2022, around like in the March, April. So in there, in last year December, I got 1560 on the SAT, and I have 8 IELTS. And also, throughout this presentation, I will be presenting like what you can do to apply to like top US colleges and like to increase your chances. I also want to congratulate you guys because you showed effort to come here, and maybe your dream is like getting into top colleges, right? And this presentation, I hope it will get you closer to that. And raise your hand when you have a question. Okay, it's not moving. Raise your hand when you have a question. So make sure that I don't miss anything. So I want to ask you guys a question. Why do you want to apply to this college? Did you ask yourself that question? Why US college? Why not?
Struggling.
What's the reason?
Because of the struggling working
Yeah, networking is very great. One of the things to go to get colleges too, because you will be, for example, in Stanford, like Stedman, he teaches there. Actually, he goes to MIT. Like Stedman teaches at MIT. And you go to Stanford. So kind of like networking and other cool people. There are other options too. But yeah, advantages of US colleges, like you can get full scholarship from top colleges and study for free there, and also of course the quality of education is like amazing. And in terms of other stuff, which is I think very important for most of us as a student, is that financial aid, right, is a big problem. And because when I look into my financial aid stuff from the Stanford, it's like for 1 year, we need, those students, they pay $97,000 per year, like including tuition, studying, and everything. Imagine that like 4 years, like you're paying that much money. But they, fortunately, US colleges, top ones, they're generous, but like no more mid-tier ones, they may not be that much. Usually, students go with AU Community Fund, to those normal universities, and that's the advantage of it. And in terms of that, but they pay like 97,000 if you need scholarship, they provide it, those top ones. And what are they paying for me is like housing, food, everything is free, tuition, and like they even give some money for personal expenses and health insurance. All of it are from there. Like even for the flights, if you don't have laptop, they even buy you a laptop. If you need, of course, it depends on your financial circumstance. CSS profile, there is a CSS profile, different than Common App. There is two platforms that you need to be aware of. Common App is where you will be submitting your application for US colleges. CSS profile is for just financial aid, and just to show how much money your parent makes in a year, some kind of those stuff. But yeah, all of those stuffs are amazing. But however, admission rates of top colleges are extremely low. For example, for this year, it's like 3.7% for getting admitted to Stanford. Other colleges similar to 3%, as you can see. So, extreme reward, but you need to be extremely exceptional for that, right? Even for internationals, the acceptance rate gets even lower, like 1.5, like 1.5 of it. So that's why what I always say is that if you want to achieve exceptional things, because if you want to be in that 3%, you need to do exceptional things. And then in today's seminar, we will learn about those stuff. So let's start with admissions process. You know, whenever you are doing some kind of application, it can be for application for different stuff. It doesn't have to be university. You need to look from the point of view of what they are looking for, what your examiner looking for, what are they waiting for you, not from your perspective. Usually, when our students fill out the application, they look from their own perspective of like, just please get let me in type of mindset instead of what they want. Like those admissions officers, they of course cannot get in everyone, right? And then so you need to understand their perspective. And while self-studying, so I know you guys there's like a complex stuff in admissions process. So that's why, but there are many resources if you are resourceful enough. And some of the stuff that I used and was very useful was those podcasts. Like you can take their photos if you want. Like Google them, and I actually listened all of those. It may be like hours and hours. Like there's 70 episodes here, and like 20 or something like that. But if you, as an exception, you need to do exceptional stuff. But listen those podcasts. In there, those admissions officers from like top universities, past admissions officers, they give advices like what they are looking for, and what are the common mistakes of the students. So, and from there, what I learned is that what is going on in the inside of the admissions office, right? When you submit your application, what happens, right? You don't know. So you submitted your application, right? First, what they do is like they look at your background information, so where are you from? Are you international? Are you so basic stuff? But then they look at your school profile. So, did you study in public school, private school? What was your opportunities that was available to you? Because they cannot compare a student with who went to private school with all those advantages of like doing like international activities and then everything presented to them. And then they cannot look at the like one guy from Jeddah who studied in public school with like just normal public school in Uzbekistan. Like, you can imagine, right? They cannot compare. They know like a school profile that will be presented by your counselor, and then they look into your grades. So they know your circumstance, how like from what background you come from. They look at your grades because logically you may have amazing extracurricular activities, but let's say like you're international Olympiad or something, but your GPA is like 3 out of 5. Like, if I accept you as a Stanford admission officer, you will get in, but you will drop out, right? Because you cannot, you're not suitable for that academic rigor. Like, why should I accept you, even though you may have amazing extracurricular activities? So that's why grades, like, it's a bare minimum. Like, having good GPA, what I mean is like, probably out of 5, over like 4 at least, but still like higher, better. And then grades are important, your GPA, whether it's consistent throughout your academic studies, like 3 years, 4 years. And then they look at your extracurricular activities. Now you did the bare minimum, right? Bare minimum, which is like just you had enough grades. And then extracurricular activities, what are you doing? Because lots of students, they have in Uzbekistan, I think it's not hard to have perfect GPA. Like I hear it like a lot. Like even in the public schools, like they have like 5, and then like it's easy in public schools. So what differentiates you to make it like 3%? Then extracurricular activities. Then they look at this one, how much effort you give into your passion, and then essays. So what makes you unique? So that what differentiates you from other students, and then after the reading, they have different ratings actually for your application. Academic rating, personal rating, athletic rating. It doesn't have to be if you are not good with that, it's not important. And then also academic extracurricular rating, recommendation letter rating difference. And then they go into committee reading. Committee reading means that now they had regional admissions officer, right? One person rated your application and then it's successful now, let's say, and then they go into committee of like other admissions officer and they present your application, and in there they rate you again whether accepted or rejected. So that's how the process works. And so first step, as I always mention, academics. It's like bare minimum for top universities. What makes your academic rating higher? So they rate you usually from 1 to 6, some university 1 to 4, and in there, what counts as your academic rating is GPA, your I-score, and so I-score is like 7.5 is enough for top universities. So some students who got into top universities from Uzbekistan, they got 7.5. After that, you don't have to cram for 9. Like, don't do that. GPA, preferably 5, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It depends on the context too. My GPA wasn't perfect, so don't worry about that. But it depends on the context. So whether you had like increasing grades throughout the years, or from what subjects you had lower grades, or whether you gave explanation for the circumstance. And then AP, if you can get AP test, you can, but it's not a requirement. I didn't have AP. And research paper. So, but research paper advantages you a lot because those top universities, they are research universities. Like Stanford is a research university. They are highly focused on the research. Those professors are there to not teach actually, but to do research and then to create like very highly regarded papers. And then, so that's why you need to go above. So everyone knows SAT, everyone knows IELTS, right? Still, even differentiating in terms of academics, then you need to write research paper about your interest. You can get into programs. There are some programs for research papers too. You can write independent one, but there are some program examples here. You can take this photo, but it's so. And there is a digital SAT. SAT became digital, and SAT is also important because, for example, I'm a student who went to public school in both Uzbekistan and Turkey. And even I can see that, like in Uzbekistan, getting 5 was so easy. In Turkey, getting 5 was very hard. Like even in the public schools, how can they standardize it, right? SAT makes it standardized. Like they need to compare you with other students. So SAT helps them to compare whether you are going, like staying above compared to other students, or like in a lower grade. So that's why we need SAT. If you didn't go to like some internationally recognized schools or something. So that's why SAT, usually for top universities, 1500 is 1500 and above is enough. You don't have to cram for 1600. Like usually you can hear about some students who have like 1580 or something, 1560, 1570, like those high scores, but they don't get in because SAT is not everything. It just proves that you're academically rigorous. So You need SAT if your GPA is not perfect, if your school is not like internationally recognized, like doesn't have IBAP program, and then, or you don't have like amazing extracurricular activities. So that's why usually 90% of students, they need SAT. So this is taken from common data set. It is like you can look at every US university's common data set, which is like every year they publish like from what kind of students they admit. And in there, this is like Stanford, the data set from this year. So 25th percentile was they accepted was they had SAT of 1500, right? 50th percentile 1540. Like you can see the high score. So you can check out the university's SAT with looking at like common data set and typing the name of the university. So those are needed, but as I mentioned, it's like bare minimum for Uzbekistan because all of the students they have, but not enough. Thousands of valedictorians, they got rejected. Yeah, be careful that people who just try to claim that SAT is everything or IELTS is everything, because it's not enough. And so there's a holistic approach that US colleges take, which is like they look at other stuff. So they look at your essays, they consider your context, they consider your true essays, they consider your extracurricular activities, honors and awards, and then recommendation letter. So all of them are included in the holistic approach. So the context is important. And we talked about the common data set. And then, so in terms of major, usually there's how many of you have Common App already? Common App. So Common App is a platform that you will be submitting your application, US application. And you can check it out. I recommend you to check. How many are gonna apply this year to US colleges? What about next year? How many are you applying next year? Okay, great. So open Common App, even though you're not gonna apply this year, because it will help you to get used to that. So this is what they consider. In the common data set, you can see that what is very important for the US colleges, what is like just not considered, whether it's like other stuff. So there is in terms of major. So how many of you want to major in computer science? Okay, how many of you about like, what's coming, other stuff? Yeah. So anyway, in terms of majors, what's important is that what's the advantage of US colleges is you don't have to commit to a major. You don't have to commit to major. Here, for example, you will have intended academic interest, intended major. So your interest, because you are still teenage, right? Your current interest can be, let's say, philosophy, right? You are very interested in philosophy. But then you went to school, when you went to university, right? You can take some philosophy courses, but you can take some, let's say, political science courses, and then you got interested in political science. You can change your major. It's not changing because you don't declare your committed major until the end of the second year. So you don't have to just worry about that, but still you need to be decisive in your application about your path. Like it should be like they don't have to be. You don't need to say like I'm interested in this. Maybe I will try this, or like all over the place. If you look all over the place, you seem like goalless, like aimless, right? And then you need to commit to what you are interested in right now, and in the university you can explore further. So there are three options you can choose, like what do you intend to major in, And preferably, it should be related to your extracurricular activities. So, not preferably actually, it's better if it's related to extracurricular activities because if, so for example, let's say you're saying that you're gonna study psychology, but all of your activities are related to computer science. Like, where's your passion? If you're gonna change your path. So it doesn't indicate passion if you like, yeah, change your major or something. So in terms of even major, you need to be unique in every way. So try to find your niche. Don't go with computer science because it's just it gains you lots of money or something like that. Like choose what you're passionate about. Even it may be philosophy, like which may not be that lucrative, right? But you can combine majors too, actually. Combine majors in terms of your interest. For example, even when I talk about the computer science, it's a broad major. You can get into the artificial intelligence side of it, or you can combine computer science with philosophy, and then get into the conscientiousness of the AI, or consciousness of AI, or whether AI can be conscious. Or you can get into combine computer science with political science and discover the way of how to make legal system more systemized through computer science. So they're like more unique niches. So you need to explore it more so that you can create your personal brand. What we call is that for the top university, you need to present, like you need to create your own personal brand. Like because when you imagine those readings, like your recommendation letters, which are 3 and long, and then your essays, your supplementary essays. All of them are very long, but they give you like 5-10 minutes to look at your transcript, all of this stuff. So imagine that you need to be rememberable in their mind. If you don't have like personal branding, and then personal branding, I mean like you present yourself in a more niche way, and then unique yourself, then you will not be rememberable and will not go to community reading probably. So what they want is that they want diverse classes. So those top universities, they want diverse classes, but they don't want diverse individuals. So what I mean by that, not as a race, but as an interest, but as a character, right? So in terms of diverse individuals, so if you're one of, there are 10 places you can write extracurricular activities, right? If two of your extracurricular activities are related to, let's say, environment, 2 of you are related to politics, 2 of you are related to computer science, other 2 of you related to psychology. So they're all over the place, but you're so diverse, well-rounded, we can say, but you're not like specialized in anything. Like you know everything, jack of all trades, right? But master of none. But they don't want. What they want is that. So they need to create a class. So in the class, they want one person who is very specialized in, let's say, conscientiousness of AI, some kind of stuff. Guy who is interested in that. In other part, they want a guy who is very into environment and did some like cool stuff about this. So very specialized individuals, and then they want to create that kind of class instead of one person including everything. So that's why personal branding is important, what you are focused on. So here, like you can call them well-rounded versus spike students. What they prefer is like more spike student. The spike is like specialized in a certain area and showed passion in this. And so those are gonna be long. Here I mentioned about the double-edged method, how you can differentiate yourself, because lots of the Uzbek students, they apply as a CS major or like another common economics major, actually. It's also popular, but you cannot differentiate yourself. It's like so broad, right? You need to combine another edge so that you can be more specific. as I mentioned, if you combine like, let's say environment with computer science, and all of your activities are related to a combination of both of them. So you went to, let's say, RLC to implement some kind of stuff with using computer science and benefit the environment. Or like you created some kind of platform for fundraising for the environment through you coding some kind of stuff or something like that. Or this is gonna be like more unique. You can, instead of just saying like I know coding or something. So narrowing down is like there is an example, but it will take so long. So here we have, after the deciding majors, you need to look at your activities, or you can do vice versa. Actually, you can look at your activities and decide like which major are they most related to. So because like you dedicated lots of time to those activities, right? Probably you have some kind of passion towards it. So you can choose in that way, even if you are not certain. Activities, they are very important. And then this is a common section of the activities. Actually, like a screenshot of it. So in the activities, you can present 10 activities. If you go over that, I had more than 10 activities. I put them into additional information section. You can put them in the additional info too. There is space for that. But minimum for the top universities, like it depends on the quality. It should be quality, like 8 quality activities are better than 10 unquality activities. So pay attention to the quality too. They're gonna ask your position leadership, like position. Were you member of the club, or were you founder and the president of the club? Right? It's very important actually, because leadership, one of the most important things that differentiates like top students and like just academically good students, is that leadership they present it. So you need to have as much as like president, founding, co-founder, leading, head of something, like you doing something instead of you led by someone else, like participant, member, went to like, so some students, like usually what they do is that they hear about volunteering is good for US colleges. And then they go into volunteering for a day, like if someone invites them, like they just do the participant job, and they're not like leader or something like that, and they get certificate, but certificate is not the important part. Like the important part is what you do, how you impact. Also, other than leadership, the second most important thing is your impact. Actually, it's related to leadership. So you need to be impactful person. You need to present that you're impactful person for your community right now, that after graduating through the resources in the university, you will be even more impactful person in the future. So, and then you can be like millionaire, billionaire, so you can donate money back to the university, because universities are businesses. Actually, like, yeah, you need, their businesses, they invest those alumni money. Okay. Anyways, so, in terms of that, you need to be an impactful person, like those presidents, those like company founders, right? And then you will present your description and everything. Most important tip for the activities is that this is actually my note from my Stanford admission officer after I got into Stanford. Like the person who read my application and decided to believe in me and presented my case in the committee reading. In her note, I'm not sure whether you can read it, but there is one part that I can read it. As your admission officer, I want to. Okay, I think I can make it bigger. Okay. As your admission officer, I want to share what an honor it was to read your application. You have, that's confidential. Positively change school cultures and make the most of every opportunity available to you. I'm from public schools. I'm like a normal kid in both Turkey and Uzbekistan. I'm not like Olympic medalist, but I made every opportunity. Like I made the most of them. Every opportunity that was available to me, and they knew the context and comparing the context because, as I mentioned, like one kid coming from let's say Navai, right? Maybe he studied like just in normal schools and in a more rural region, but he created like some cool stuff. Then it's more important than a kid who studied in, let's say, UK private school and then did something cool stuff. So I'm inspired by your drive and humbled by your care. I can't wait to see what you will achieve at Stanford and beyond. I think you will love it here and welcome. So in terms of extracurricular activities, there are types of them. And in terms of, you can have, leadership is important. You can have sports activities, but it's not necessary. Passion, talent, those are important. If you can't find activity, think about creating one. Like usually students, they say like, oh, I cannot find activity, or there's no club in my school. And I'm like, then create one in your school. Or like, you don't have to create it in your school if you cannot get like permission for that. You can create another organization in your mahalla or something, right? So for example, let's say you care about environment. You want to create environment club in your school, okay, your school doesn't allow that, then you can go to the mahalla and then help with like hashar or something and like create a club that does something good for the environment. So be more resourceful. Impact is important in the activities, as I mentioned. And then you need to explore and excel at your area in your intended study field, even before university. They don't accept some normal students and turn it into like cool students. They accept very successful students and make them even more successful. So you need to think about that. So if you are going to pursue computer science, like if you are intended to pursue computer science, you need to show that you are doing some kind of, creating some kind of startup right now, or creating some kind of, using your computer science to create something, right? It doesn't have to be, maybe a platform, maybe website, or like, and it does have an impact. It doesn't have to be like, you just created the website and no one uses that. They don't care about it because in the activities description, you will talk about the impact, right? You need to talk like how many people it serves. And yeah, that's important stuff. What is even cooler activities, better activities, is that international ones. The level of it is also important. There are lots of free, actually, international opportunities. And then you can, while you're studying, like if you're 9, 10, 11, I'm not sure about that 11, but 9, 10, you can apply to those programs like Yale Young Global Scholars. Their admissions also in the, as a high school student, are also in the fall. So it's like a exchange, not exchange, but like a few weeks of program. Yeah, kind of like a summer program, but you don't have to go in the summer. Harvard Undergraduate International Relations Scholars Program, Yale International Relations. Those universities, they actually have summer programs. You can apply, and they give funding if you need. In terms of other stuff, those are business-related programs. You can apply to those. And there were more, but yeah, you need to be resourceful. Actually, you can find them in the podcast that if you are resourceful enough, you can find them in the podcast that I mentioned. If you want to search about like not only business but other programs. So activity types. So what you can do? 10 activities, right? You need more activities. What are the activity types you can do? You can do volunteering. You can found your own non-government organization, or like you can find your own project that helps people. It doesn't have to be like NGO. Yeah, the important part is not the paperwork part. The important part is the impact part. Like you can create like one Telegram channel that helps many students, right? It can be like just a Telegram channel, but the impact that it made is big. Work opportunities. Like if you have work position, then it's also amazing because it shows maturity. Not everyone works, right? Internship about your area. If you're interested in maybe like psychology and economics, you can do internship in marketing, right? Summer programs, research, you can do art activities, cultural debate, environmental journalism, so musical instrument, student government, leadership position, theater, social justice. So, and you can even create passion project yourself, like if you cannot find. So don't say that I don't have any activities. You have opportunities, and you don't need lots of money for them. And but stellar activities without context still not enough to get into top universities because I had many friends from Uzbekistan who had like more, I think, more amazing activities than mine. Um, my opinion. But the essays, they're also very important. So personal statement, supplementals. So this is a screenshot from Common App of the essay part. There is like a one main essay. You can apply to up to 20 colleges through Common App, up to 20 US colleges. And there is one main essay that you will be submitting to, that will be applying to every 20 colleges. That will be sent to all of them. And besides, these are the prompts of it, but I will not read it. Just open Common App, look through it. But the word limit is like 650 words, around that. And hopefully you will write longer ones, not the, yeah. Here, use Google Documents. It will help you to organize your essays because with supplementals, it can be a bit so overwhelming. And there are supplemental essays. What it means is that besides main essay that will be submitted to all of the universities, you have supplementals that each university requires individually. Like for example, as a Stanford, I want you to write like, what is one thing? What's the most meaningful thing to you? Essay, right? As in Harvard, I may want you to write something else essay. So they have individual prompts, which is called supplementals. So they are very important too. And how, in terms of essay, I can talk about 1-2 hours, but I will not take time. So in general, the important thing in essay should be, it should tie together all your application. What I mean by that, in the activities part, you have very short, like 35 words character limit to describe the activity that you did. Like very little, like 1 or 2 sentences at most. Even it's not full sentence. And it just, in the activities, you will mention what you did or what kind of impact that you made. But you cannot explain like why you did it. Like what was your value? Values are very important in US admissions, actually. Are you like aware of your social circumstances, and then you can observe like, do you show maturity to a bit criticize your society, but in a constructive way, and then do something to better it? Like, what are your values? Do you care about gender equality? Do you care about, let's say, climate change? Do you care about educational inequality? So, right, do you care about poverty? Your value is important, and your essays should show that. And your activities. So, for example, you are saying that, let's say in the essay you are saying that you care about the environment, right? But you don't have activities related to environment. Then it's like just a buzzword. Like yeah, you just care about it, but do nothing about it. And it's like, no. Essay should be related, hopefully, to that, but it should show like why you care about that. Like, what was the reason for it, right? Is it just the normal stuff? So show your unique experiences and perspective. To be in that unique circle, like 3% of it, you need to, what I also recommend is that you can create a bullet points of unique stuff that you have that differentiates you from other students, right? For example, when I compare you with other Uzbek students who has same GPA, who has same SAT, same GPA, same SAT, same IELTS, what makes you different than them, right? Like ask yourself and create a bullet points of like, for example, you may have a unique experience of living in, let's say, South Africa, or let's say you have unique experience of living without internet until like you are 16 or something. So it's like also your perspective is important. And there are lots of stuff about personal branding. So personal branding should be more focused. So who are you? What are your principles? What are you motivated by? And like what you're known for? So they should be able to call you like with a nickname, your application, right? They should be able to summarize your application in one sentence. This is a guy from like let's say Karachi, Pakistan, who is passionate about the environment and because like LLC stuff going on and it's activities related to that or something like that. And then also precision is important. Imagine, put yourself in their shoes every time. So usually what our students do is that they don't know Uzbekistan probably, or like they are very broadly familiar with Uzbekistan. But your audience, who is your audience? Like those admissions officers. Imagine them, they're normal, like middle class people who like just have their own life in the US, right? They may not know your context. So audience should interpret your writing in the same way you planned it. You need to provide context. When you're gonna say like Uzbekistan, don't assume something that they already know. They may not know about. So your writing, your essay should be understandable outside of the context and without prior knowledge. And be specific as possible in terms of details. And you need to use storytelling for that. And it doesn't have to be so academic. Actually, preferably, you show your academic rigor to test scores and something else like research paper. But when it comes to essays, keep it to show your personality, your values, your character, and not like just. I think it's different from like UK application. They care more about the academic stuff in UK, in the motivational essay. But in US, they care about like some unique storytelling stories, like challenges that you overcome, kind of stuff, and your values. And use complex structure, sentences, idea. Show that you're mature in your essay. Like you don't show it with like, yeah, you need to show it, not tell it. I'm not mature. You don't tell it I'm mature, then you're not mature. But show through overcoming a challenge or like through behaving in a certain way when you come across with certain problems. And when you're telling that story, they can see that what was your reaction, right, to the same event. So you need to show your maturity. Show that you are open to new perspectives, different upbringing, prejudice, and values. If in your essay you use some kind of racist terminology or like you say like you don't like certain people just because you don't like them, then it's like you're gonna go to US, right, and study in Stanford, like or some kind of top universities. There are people all around the world, so like you need to be able to respect them, right? Not have prejudice. You need to show that you are able to operate in an international environment. That's why international programs actually helps, and multicultural. You need to be able to compete at that level. So if you have awards from international competitions, then it's also better. And then recommendation letters. In terms of recommendation letters, it's necessary, not optional, that you need to have for the top universities. I'm not sure, like middle, low-tier universities. But in terms of 2 teacher and 1 counselor, it's a requirement. You need to get 1 counselor. You can in Uzbekistan you can call it director. Like who is in the highest position in your school? It's like it's counselor, director. What? Yeah, principal. You can call it. So they need to write 1 recommendation letter and 2 recommendation letters from your teacher. Preferably 1 is more to show your different perspectives. 1 from maybe a STEM subject, 1 from more like social science, or humanities subject, like history or something. And then there are optional recommendation letters. I didn't have optional recommendation letters. They're optional, right? But if you have some kind of, let's say you wrote a research paper with a professor from Milli University or something like that, National University, then you guys worked on a project for 3 months, let's say, and that person knows you close enough to like how you are in as a teammate, right? That professor can write your recommendation letter, but make sure that they know you closely. Like there is even difference between some people they have high status, like they may be ministry of something, but you just talked with them for like 10 minutes. Like you don't know them personally. And then you're asking them recommendation letter, and then let's say they accepted it. And then they write you just 2 sentences of recommendation letter. But even though it's minister, it's not important. Like content is more important than from whom are you getting. If the content is better in your normal school teacher, then it's better to take from them than get from minister and then have just she's successful student or something like that. But if you can combine, then your professor and then they can write detailed recommendation letter, it's better. Your recommendation letter should be detailed. You can prepare brag sheet, bullet points, we can call them, to your teachers and counselors to help them remember you, because they have many students. You need to empathize with them, how they can remember everything about you. Your recommendation letter should be preferably at least 600 words, what I say. Mine, they were so long. Because not repetitively long, but in a genuine way, because my teachers valued different things about me. So you can create bullet points to mention different stuff about you so that they can be more detailed. A recommendation letter should not be short and generic with just adjectives. If your recommendation letter is she's smart, successful, intelligent, genius, and everything, and then it's it doesn't tell anything. Just all of the students they're smart, right? But if they show you with anecdotes, anecdotes is short stories throughout, when they present you she's intelligent. What made you that seems you're intelligent? If they're claiming that you are humble, give an anecdote. They need to give an anecdote about how you showed your humbleness. So they need to mention about your impact to your community. They use admissions officers. They use recommendation letters, and they value it a lot, actually. Because they need to assess your impact to your community. It's for example, what kind of student you are gonna be when you come to the campus. They want to imagine that what kind of, what will be your campus involvement, how you will contribute to them. So don't think even in the essays or other stuff, usually students talk about how university can contribute to them, so they're an amazing university, if I go to you, I can become something. Or this is they know it, they're amazing universities. Instead, show that how you can contribute to the center, or how you can, when you come to the university, will you create some kind of clubs or join them, or show leadership, create fundraising, or some different stuff. will you be active, right? You have teamwork, leadership, and other stuff. So this is one of the things that I am pretty annoyed in terms of misconception in Uzbekistan is that, those news saying that Uzbek student got 1 million scholarship got accepted to 30 universities. And you check the universities and they're like University of unknown, Michigan, or not okay. Those are good ones. But what I mean is that, so usually those public universities, they are public, right? They are not that well funded as private universities, and as in terms of alumni donation. So that's why, in terms of scholarship, public universities offer less scholarship. So usually, if you get accepted to University of Arizona, you need to apply to Elit Umidi Fonda or to get funding from actually the government instead of university, because university gives less. Even if they give, it can be very competitive. So that's why, in terms of that, if those scholarships are like, the university price is like 50,000 per year, right? They give you 10,000 scholarships, and it's like, yeah, that's not, you cannot combine them. Instead, like, just apply to quality and get full scholarship from them. So let's say you applied to Colby College and then you got full scholarship. You just applied to Colby College, you don't just apply to one college, but you got into one university with what it means, like $400,000 scholarship. Then it's better than applying to 30 universities, getting 20,000 from each and just combining them. You're just one person. Like, you're gonna choose one university. So it's gonna be a not good decision to make. And usually in terms of unknown universities, just for the sake of going to America, there's a visa aspect to it. It's not good because let's say you got accepted, let's say you have funding, actually you can pay, right? But what about the visa aspect? Usually if they don't know your university that well, then you may get visa rejected because of that. For applying to the through Common App, so this is Common App platform, right? Part of it. There is a Common App fee waiver. How you can apply? How much it costs to apply to universities? Usually, to apply for each university, you should pay around $70 or $100 or something like that for each university. But if you are not financially well, so you can apply to Common App fee waiver. How you can be eligible is that if you are eligible for Common App fee waiver, if you need financial aid, you can click the yes one, but your counselor should approve that you're eligible for the financial aid too. So there is actually Common App for recommenders, another Common App for recommenders. So they will be submitting your recommendation letter and everything about full profile there. If they allow it, they say she or she is eligible, then you will be applying to all universities for free. So automatically, Common App waives your fee for applying. And some tips for the success in the process. Those are the important stuff, but they are valuable. Start early. When I see some students, they start in 8th grade, 9th grade. That's amazing. But don't stress if you are now in a gap year or some kind of stuff. But you can still do it. It depends on from where you are starting. Start early. Start right now. We cannot change the past. So don't think about the past, worrying that I should have started last year or something like that. Yeah, you're just starting right now, right? Okay. Everyone is starting right now, but be resourceful. And resourceful, as I mentioned, some students I see some students, even to me, they ask like basic questions. How, so what's the SAT score for the Harvard? Or basic question. Don't just Google it, like Googleable questions, right? Be researchful. Those podcasts or YouTube videos, if you understand English, there's so many online free resources. Be resourceful and be focused and prioritizing. Prioritizing is very important too. What I mean by prioritizing is that you need, if you have less time into achieving something, you need to give up on some other stuff, right? Because you cannot do everything in once. So you need to be able to prioritize what's important to me, what will make me closer to my goal, and what will like not benefit to them. So eliminate like that. And network community is very important. Appreciate communities like Women Tech Makers too. They are amazing. So those communities, actually, I get to know lots of cool people. They are very open to support you, but also you can gain lots of knowledge in them from them. Right? It doesn't have to be just related to application, right? So those communities, they are very important. And use your time effectively. What I prefer is that use Google Calendar. This is not mine, but it's fuller than that. But use Google Calendar. Be more structured. Like, where is your time going? Like, if you use Google Calendar or some kind of stuff like that, you can see are you being like efficient or not. And then other tips is that use social media less or none, because last year when I was in my application cycle, I actually didn't use any Instagram. I opened my Instagram in February this year, so and other social media stuff. It's connected to prioritizing and deep focus too. So I was just focusing because I had less time. Like if you're eighth grade and ninth grade, you have more time. You can do, but in terms of me, I had less time, right? A few months. So that's why. And use LinkedIn. You can find international opportunities through LinkedIn. And networking, you never know. And lastly, continue to dream big. And so in terms of Stanford, I wasn't sure that I would get it, but I had my big dream, but I also worked hard. So it should be combined. Work hard, be disciplined, continue to dream big. Try your chance. Like if, some students, they reject themselves. They have high SAT, high everything, but they don't apply to, let's say, Harvard, Stanford, or something like that. They automatically reject, oh, I wouldn't get accepted, or something like that. So just try your chance. And last one, any questions? And then some people ask how you can reach out to me. I have Instagram, I have Telegram channel. Actually, I have YouTube channel, but it's not very creative. But mostly you can follow me on my Telegram channel. And any questions? Yep.
Is it important to have a bank account and lots of money to apply? Even if we get full scholarship.
Full scholarship. They look at your bank statement, how much you earn last year, right? They look at it, and according to that, they will give you scholarship, right? If you have, if you pay that, you need lots of money, and right, you will give you
Is it possible to get full scholarship?
you will get according to how much you earn. Once you get into the scholarship, you may not get at 100% if you are more rich, then you may get 90% or 50%, right? But then your parents will help. So it will balance. Yeah.
So I hold it for some months.